Hey folks, Aaron here. We're still working through our shop tours, and now we're on to talking about all my woodworking machines. So I did make another video where I mentioned my 3 favorite ones, and we'll mention them again in here, but we'll give you the whole rundown. Philosophy-wise, most of my machines are old cast iron machines from the middle of the last century and earlier. And that's because, in America, we used to make really heavy, accurate, awesome machines and before it was all outsourced. So I, in general, have rescued all these things from barns, estate sales, out of people's basements, out of other people's shops, whatever. And the best thing about these old machines is they're made to be worked on, repaired, maintained, restored. They can go forever once you learn how they work. So I do have a few newer machines, but in general, it's these old pieces of cast iron, and I'll be happy to tell you about them all as we go. So thanks for tuning in, and let's get to the machines. So up against that outside wall of the shop, we've got the 2 big doors, and it's through here that we would bring large pieces in order to get processed. And like we said, a shop is a system. It's got its own inputs and outputs, and making all that work is really important for flow. So to begin with, we've got the large bandsaw that's got a pretty small blade on it right now for cutting curves, but I also just use this for rough breakdown of big pieces of wood. That's a 27-inch bandsaw, American Sawmill Machinery Company. Got that from my dear friend Kath. And at the same time, I also got this Yates American 12-inch jointer. That company was from 10 minutes down the road from where I grew up. It's from Beloit, Wisconsin. And it's just a beautiful piece of old equipment, very accurate, and I love it. So to go along with that, of course, most people consider the center of the shop to be a table saw. And I have enough room that I've got, I can put big pieces of wood with room to spare on the left, right, front, and back, which is helpful. And I can even bring big, long pieces through these shop doors that are right behind us. My table saw is a 60s unisaw. I think it's got a 2 horsepower motor on it. I use the shark guard, and I added a special switch I can hit with my leg, which is both really helpful for safety's sake. And you do need, stuff behind your table saw for outfeed support. So what better for outfeed support than another table saw? So you tool nerds will recognize this unisaw as being from the first year of manufacture of unisaws. So I think this is 1939. Some people call these 4-footer unisaws because of the 4 cast iron feet at the bottom. I just love the Art Deco badges and knobs and stuff on this. Definitely a high point of American industrial design. And I keep a second table saw like this because I use a thin kerf blade here with stabilizers on it, and that's used with sleds and other jigs and fixtures in order to make the slots and fretboards, and also to make little kerf linings and other accurate things. I could do that on the other saw, but I like keeping this one set up so I don't have to change that blade. It just can sit there, and I can run over and use it when I need it, and it's great. So the third little table saw in the shop is the Hammond Glider Trimho saw. This is a small sliding table saw for the printing industry, and it's really awesome and beautiful and accurate for making small repeated cuts. It's got a few of these little jigs and fixtures that go with it to hold stuff safely and accurately, and I just love this machine. I use it all the time. So the other thing that goes along with the joiner in the table saw, of course, is a planer. So I have this little Rockwell planer. This is from an era where they were making some machines in Brazil. So this is a very heavy, inaccurate, small machine. I really like it. I think it's an early 80s machine. And because it's on wheels, I can slide it out of the way because I don't need the planer all that often. Now, if we keep going through here, we've got a little jet spindle sander. That's 90s, I believe. And a beautiful Delta drill press from my friend Kath as well. A very stout and accurate machine. Also just a beautiful piece of equipment. A couple sanders. This is a Newton edge sander, made in Texas. And all the other ones we've ever seen have an oscillating feature. Mine does not. The top of mine says E4, which is not the normal model number. We did find patent drawings for this machine, so we have a feeling this is a very early machine before they added other features. I bought this out of a barn up in Washington State, and it's a 3-phase machine with a VFD on it. I used the flat platen on the front, of course, but the 2 rounded drums are nice because it's like having 2 more spindle sanders in the shop of different sizes for outside sanding at least. And I have a fixture here where I slide things into there like the backs of headstocks and braces and everything. This slides left and right in order to adjust. Nice little machine. My Yates American disc sander. This is same age as my jointer we just showed you. This came out of a pattern maker's shop. Also 3-phase. Forgive the fact that I don't have a good enclosure for my VFD on here. While we're over here, you can see the Oneida dust collector. And that's been a good machine. Now a little routing station. So luthiers are famous for buying lots and lots of little routers used and setting them up for dedicated tasks, because I get a lot more done and I do more accurate work when I'm not fiddling with the routers for different bits and bearings. So that looks expensive, but when you buy everything used and off Craigslist and whatever, it's not that big a deal. And then I have tons of jigs and fixtures and stuff to hold the work to these routers to do accurate stuff. Tiny little router table up there even. And I also do some more routing at this station. Dovetails there, 2 templates that fit into that bench. We've already talked about the drum sander. That's good for all the veneers and thin things that luthiers have to do. And we have my Delta Rockwell lathe. So I bought this when Wildwood Banjos was closing down. So this lathe has done basically nothing but make banjo rims for many years. And I use a cross slide that would probably be more familiar to folks on a metalworking lathe in order to make very accurate cuts on my banjo rims. I can fit a 12-inch rim on here. And I use these face plates where I screw the banjo rims right to them, and that threads right onto there. Here you can see some rims in various stages. That was a cool machine, not just because of its how well it works, but for its history as well. So what did we miss? Okay, last thing. Hitachi resaw bandsaw, made in Japan. These were popular in the 90s. Lots of ukulele makers on the islands use these, and I got some good advice from my friends there how to set this up. This came out of the Carpenter Ant stash. The only thing that you have to do is you have to change the motor and then all the pulleys and belts and everything, because the original motor really isn't that great. And then I run an inch deep resaw blade on this with carbide teeth. So I call this my mini sawmill. It's for resawing all these fretboards and tops and backs and, you know, all the ukulele parts. And this thing just eats wood. It is a massive money maker for me, and I'm really happy to have it in here. Of course, you can't get this machine anymore, but it was pretty easy to get running and working. So yeah, did we get it all? I think so. This is the machine end of the shop. Thanks for tuning in.